In this video we will discuss recent medical device scandals and why this pushed governments to introduce stricter regulations. Since the early 2000s, reports of medical device adverse incidents involving certain medical devices started to increase significantly. Incidents relating to hip implants, breast implants and vaginal mesh were becoming real problems to thousands of patients worldwide. The hip and knee implant issues were eventually identified as being caused by the metal in the implants wearing over time. This wearing of the metal within the implants was caused by the ball part grinding against the socket part. This subsequently caused chromium and cobalt ions to be released from the implant. These metal ions caused the patient's body to have an immune system inflammatory response and caused erosion, which damaged the bone. This issue resulted in some patients developing inflammatory-related tumors, requiring surgical revisions. In 2010, news broke about thousands of cases where mainly women who had undergone breast implant surgery were experiencing their implants to rupture. After investigation, it was identified that the silicone used in these implants was not of medical grade. The silicone had been swapped out by the raw material supplier for industrial-grade silicone as it was cheaper to produce. When this was identified, the company in question dissolved and ceased trading, and therefore, there was no entity for which the sufferers could hold accountable. It is estimated that over 40,000 people were implanted with these substandard implants. To this day, the only option for these people is to either pay to have the implants removed or replaced unless there is a medical emergency reason for them to be removed. The UK regulator had been receiving adverse incidents relating to this issue since 2002, nearly a decade before the scandal broke in the news. It is still not clear what the long-term health effects could be, and this is still being debated by the experts. Used to treat stress urinary incontinence and pelvic organ prolapse, vaginal mesh implants were widely used the world over. Between April 2008 and March 2017, 100,516 patients had a reported tape insertion procedure in the UK. In most cases, the complications are relatively minor. However, in a small number of cases they can be serious. These include mesh erosion extrusion, when the mesh pokes through the vaginal wall or cuts through internal tissue, vaginal scarring, fistula formation, bladder infection or perforation, bowel and nerve trauma, and pelvic, back and leg pains. Some of these complications may occur years after surgery and can be difficult to treat. Serious complications are rare, given the tens of thousands of women who have had the implants, but can be life-changing for some women. It was later found that many of the mesh manufacturers were found to have had financial links to research, royal colleges, and influential clinicians, which then influenced the basis of the evidence-based practice that often guides such bodies of medical opinion. According to the Independent Medicines and Medical Device Safety Report, patients' mesh complications were also frequently underreported and patient-based evidence of harm disregarded. Patients were also not sufficiently informed of the material risks or reasonable alternatives to mesh. These medical device scandals highlighted significant weaknesses in regulation. It identified that preclinical data, clinical data, and review of such data needed to be much stronger before devices should be allowed to be placed on the market. It identified that manufacturers of medical devices needed much more rigorous scrutiny over quality, production, suppliers, traceability, and device identification to allow for improved post-market surveillance. It highlighted that medical device suppliers should have financial insurance in place to compensate patients where fault lies with the medical devices sold. Regulators across the world since these scandals broke have implemented much more rigorous measures to try and make sure that we have learnt from the lessons that the scandals taught us, and that organizations involved in producing and selling medical devices are more accountable for their actions. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our channel for more content on everything medical device related. Patient Guard, making regulation easy.